Hi, welcome back to Convergence Knowledge Bytes, where we take complex business topics and break them down into bite with a Y sized chunks for business leaders and owners to better educate themselves around how to make decisions and move their companies forward in the most successful way. We have part two here of our HR consulting series with HR Answers and the CEO, Laurie Grenya. Thanks, Laurie, for coming back with us on this episode. I want to pick up where we left off in our last one. And I know we had talked about a couple of different things, but can you expand on how the HR Answers consultants, the unique advantages that they bring to your clients and what some of those might be, some examples of that, so that the listeners and viewers can get a sense of what that means?
Sure. So, like I mentioned previously, our consultants have 25 or more years of experience in all different phases of HR services. One of the things that I think makes our consultants unique is they have a passion to solve problems,
Oh,
to
cool.
get in and work with you and figure out what's the best path forward.
Hmm.
We aren't somebody who takes necessarily a question at face value. What we want to know is, are you asking us the right question? So we ask a lot of questions. And there usually isn't a form for that, which HR usually has a form for everything, but that's not us
Yeah.
because your organization has its own form. We want to know if it's the right form that's going to keep you compliant. So our consulting staff loves to dig in. They want to uncover the questions that we need to actually get answered, because most people are reacting to a symptom of
Hmm.
something that isn't going well. We want to get down to the root cause so that you
Yeah.
don't have to experience it again, because it doesn't do us any good to put a band-aid on it. We want to fix it, take care
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, we hear that a lot where it's well, I don't know the right question to ask, but here's what I think I need, or here's what I think is going on, and you have to have that inquisitive nature,
Yep,
right? To help
absolutely.
somebody help someone help you help them.
Yeah, yeah. We call
And
it curiosity. We are
yeah,
curious. We
yeah,
just want to know.
yeah, that's great.
So,
And it also makes sure that you're answering, as you said, the right question, because where you start in a conversation when you're trying to solve a problem isn't necessarily where you end up with an answer. And
absolutely.
we see that in a number of different industries, right? When you're in a service-based industry, it's not always, you don't always finish where you start. You think you're going one direction, and before you know it, where you thought you were going left, you're actually going right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Um, well, I know that a lot of our viewers and listeners enjoy stories. And so I want to kind of open up the kimono a little bit and ask if you can share a story or two, a success story or two, where HR Answers has like significantly improved a client's HR process, or maybe through a compliance situation, you were able to help them avoid putting their organization at risk or something like that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. So I'm going to use one that's a little bit related to one of those. Is it really going to happen? No, it didn't. How do we
Okay.
do that preventative view for somebody? Um, Prevention is everything in our space, because at the end of the day, it's legal compliance and it's people's lives. And
Hmm.
guess what? People get upset when you mess with their lives and you don't talk to them about it.
For sure.
So, handbooks. Handbooks, I think, are the bane of existence for almost all organizations. And I'm just going to pick on Oregon here for a second, because we do quite a bit of work in Oregon, and I happen to live here. So,
Hmm.
in Oregon, in statute right now we're not quite through session. So, in statute right now, there are 69 notices that you have to give employees. Okay, I know not one,
Wow.
I don't know any organization that hands over 69 memos during onboarding. But what I do know people hand over is a handbook. Okay.
Wow.
However, the average age of a handbook is 10 years.
Whoa.
Legislative session happens every year.
Yeah.
And we actually see changes that need to happen in the handbook every year. So
Wow.
we do. We send out regular messages saying, hey, it's time for handbook updates. Here's the digest of things you need to be looking for, changes, so on and so forth. And inevitably, several people will reach out and say, hey, we need a handbook update. I distinctly remember one client reaching out and saying, Laurie, I'm almost ashamed to say this. I started updating the handbook last year when you guys sent out the email, and I got stuck. I got stuck on a topic that I didn't know anything about, and then other priorities took place, and we couldn't do anything. And I said, well, we can take it off your to-do list. That's not an issue. And so one of the consultants dug in and read through the entire handbook, cover to cover, made notes in the margins associated
Hmm.
with every single thing that was in there that didn't meet compliance standards. Those are a red
Wow.
flag.
Yeah.
Secondarily, looked at things that needed to cross-reference each other and identified this doesn't seem to comply with what you've already decided. And for every discretionary decision, check to make sure that it was also compliant, because it's usually discretion within a box. So handing that back to the client, they not only had I can accept all of these changes, and now I've got a compliant handbook,
Hmm.
but it also told them why we needed them to make those changes. So they got some education around that compliance piece. That particular HR person still keeps the red line version of that handbook so that they can inform themselves about the why. But it also taught
Oh,
us something really important. Now we're working towards putting out handbooks that are not only the handbook that we share with everybody, but the operational guide for the people who have to use it as their tool for
huh.
consistency in the organization. So great success for the organization, success for HR Answers too, and helping be able to explain to others what was so important to that person.
Wow. 69. I'm thinking about
69.
the amount that's so much time on the employee side to review all of those
Yes,
as well on an annualized basis. Uh,
absolutely. This is
Holy
why we like
moly.
to train people on their handbooks. And we've done this now with several organizations, and it's not, we just record it and then
Hmm.
they can post it on their website someplace, which is a,
Oh,
hey, here's your handbook, these are the things you need to know, we're required to talk to you about these things, so
yeah.
that if you're a person who's being onboarded, you can say, I'm good with reading the book, and they just read, or they can just watch the video and listen, and then they can still do their acknowledgments. It's
Hmm.
just different people learn different ways. And what we
Yeah.
know is there are 6 generations of people in the workforce right now. And with 6 generations, you better be ready to share information in multiple ways. So why not start with that availability instead of having to play catch up later? It's not easy
Yeah.
to turn one of those books into, well, we don't have the cartoon version yet. Maybe that's next. Maybe with some AI help, we can get there. The cartoon
Yeah.
version of the handbook.
Yeah, my gosh. Well, and I know a lot of people who also just kind of like scroll to the bottom, hit yes, I accept, and then they move on too,
Yeah,
right? In the employee onboarding process, because they don't really want to read through, 80, 100 plus pages of an employee handbook. And of course, there's not
exactly.
text on all of those, right? There's some pictures too for the folks
Sometimes.
like me that like to, learn by picture.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
But we
Um,
do have a saying about handbooks. Okay,
yeah.
this is this quote saying. If you read to the end of the handbook and the employee knows the 100 ways we can fire them,
Yeah.
you've not done a good job. If
Ah,
the employee gets to the end of the handbook and they are very excited about the choice they made to come to work for this organization, you've hit the right note. And we read way too many handbooks that just say all the ways we can get rid of you. Who wants to read that on their first day?
yeah.
Who wants to
Negative,
read that on their
negative,
second
negative.
day? I'd like be, were there other jobs out there that were available? And sure, I want to be here. I'm not sure
Y-
they want me here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
that's not okay.
That's a really good point though, it should be around that sort of encouraging engagement experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
and there's ways you can word that to where it is more of an optimistic, perspective on it when you finish looking through it. That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Um, So I know you do a lot of different things. You talked earlier about sort of how you tailor your services to the specific needs of different clients, but can you give a couple examples of clients where you've come into, maybe not necessarily the handbook, but another scenario or a situation
Sure.
where you've tailored a specific solution or the needs to what they were looking for at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to use training as
Oh, okay.
the example for this.
There's never
Uh,
enough of that.
There's never a method that.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, no two organizations are the same. And different states have different laws. So we have a few organizations we work with that are in multiple states.
Hmm.
And harassment, discrimination, and retaliation is still a thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And some states actually have laws that say you have to train annually on this. Okay.
Oh,
And
yeah.
at least one state, maybe to
Hmm.
the south of us, has laws about how you can do that online or electronically and what has to be included in that. And
Okay.
so Deborah Jeffries, she's our VP and also the head of everything training and education for us, which you know from your
Yep.
training.
She did my training.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did. Deborah is always keeping her eye out on what's changing in those environments so that when a client comes to us and says, yeah, I just need the annual training, then we can work with them about what is the appropriate content for your current training. But I
Yeah.
think even more so, and the one that really kind of hits home for me is we frequently end up working with manufacturing organizations.
Hmm.
And in those cases, they work shifts.
Oh,
And
yeah.
many times, these are not, the staff by and large are not necessarily computer savvy. So they wanted on site, in person training, but they needed to do it through all of their shifts. So
Whoa, you
their
mean like
question, yeah,
the graveyard shift, the swing
yes,
shift,
yes.
oh my gosh, that's tough to
So
do.
our lovely Deborah
Hmm.
went and spent a day and has done this several times with manufacturing organizations to make sure all their shifts were covered, meaning all their employees and supervisors, because we usually train a little bit to both of them because there's some
Mm,
special stuff supervisors need to understand.
makes
But we're
sense.
working through all of that and making the schedule work for that client is important. So the supervisory series, we frequently get clients who contact us and say, listen, we can't, the schedule of the next and upcoming supervisory series isn't going to work for our group, but we want them to learn together and
Hmm.
work together so that they understand, in my words, management's a team sport and that's your team. So get to
Yeah.
know them really well. But we take that training to them on their schedule. And we ask them to go through their curriculum and say, what of this do you feel like your staff are doing really well with and we don't need to spend much time on? What do you want us to elaborate on? Is there anything you want us to add? And so we really work through the curriculum to meet their goals, not just provide the CAM training.
Oh, that's really cool. And it's a testament to the idea that, you're really trying to like figure out how to fit, the square or the circle or whatever this
Yeah.
particular organization's need looks like. Um, which, kind of um as much as I've known of HR answers in the community for so many years, it's a lot. It's always been kind of that way,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to accommodate that particular sort of not trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Like, what do you actually need? How can we help you the best? And what does that look like? And then, adapting how you all deliver that experience to the customer, which is really cool. So I want to kind of pivot with the last question for today's episode, really around um, a couple of the things that I think are great is you all have a monthly service plan. And so I want you to kind of do an overview of the monthly plan options for businesses and then the benefits or advantages of one over the other, or in one particular case, one makes more sense for somebody versus another.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are really three different categories for monthly service plans. We have something called the hotline, and this is
Mhm.
really, think about it as insurance. You're
Okay.
about to make that really difficult decision. You're not 100% sure that you've checked all the boxes that you need to mitigate your risk. And you want
Okay.
to be able to pick up the phone and talk to an HR consultant and say, this is what I've done. Are we in a good place? Does that feel
Yeah.
good? Now, some people are going to do that with their insurance brokers, especially those that have employee practices liability insurance.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Sure.
However, you can also utilize us for that. And sometimes it's just I just want to kick the ball around with somebody, another thinker in the HR space to figure out what's going on. So that is literally just phone call and email services.
Interesting.
Anything you got, we're going to dig in with you, ask a whole bunch of questions,
Yeah.
and confirm or educate about whatever you need.
Well, and the insurance agent isn't always going to have maybe the breadth or the depth of HR expertise also. They may understand the insurance policy
Yeah,
structure really well, but they may not understand all of the HR
mhm,
laws that need to be sort of worked through in that scenario. So hotline, I love that you considered an insurance policy. What you've told me though is it's often really that sounding board.
it is.
It
It
like,
is.
it's almost like, phone the expert if you were on the,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
Phone a
really cool.
friend. We
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah. Second kind of bucket, and this one's a scalable service. It depends on how many employees you have, is really
mm,
how we scale this one. It's called the Advantage Plan. And the Advantage Plan also has that hotline service, that
mhm,
retained set of services, but it also goes into access to all of our resource guides, which includes policies, forms, template handbooks, so that you can see something that's compliant and tailor it to your own needs. So
mm,
these are simply Word documents. We
'kay,
don't produce them in PDF or anything like that because we want them to be as useful as possible to the largest majority. Put your own
okay,
brand on it, fill in the blanks if that's all you need to do, change the terminology a bit if you need to fit your organization. If you do that, if you start with one of our forms and you make those changes, you can also come back to us and say, hey, I took your form, I updated it. Can you do a quick review? That's all covered under that monthly plan.
oh, cool. Is
So
that
you
and that's accessible through the customer portal on your website that you've made available?
So it has been available through our customer portal. We are doing an update to our website, and that's now going to be handled a different way.
Okay,
So our portal will be going away actually at the beginning of July.
okay,
However, in these plans, the hotline and in the Advantage plan, I'll talk about our third one here in a second.
okay,
We have what's called authorized callers. We want to make sure that our clients are up to date. So
yeah,
instead of just giving people their own access through that portal, which means constantly managing passwords, and anybody who's ever done that knows that that's a challenge,
yeah,
but also remembering all the passwords as if anybody needs one more of those.
yeah,
But what we've decided is if you are an authorized caller, we're going to push notifications to you with any updates that are happening to those. So when you're first enrolled, you get a notification with a location you can go and download the entire set if that's what you want.
oh, cool,
As changes are being made, you're going to get a new notice, and the new ones will be highlighted in there so that you can review what's changed and download it or update your own if you need to. So we think that's a
nice,
much better way to keep people informed than just if they thought about it.
yeah, I like
So
that,
yeah, so we're going to shift that just a little bit. And then the last one, and this is a newer service for us, but it's really a combination of things we've been doing for years and that people keep asking us, can we have you do fractional HR? And our answer's been, no, we really don't have it set up that way. We're no longer saying no, we're saying yes.
good,
So fractional HR is a continual process for at least a year. Again, it's a monthly cost. You get not only those same types of things that are in the Advantage Plan program, where it's all that just in time advice, we also give access to all of your employees to contact us and say, I need some help with. And
oh,
whether that's helping them navigate the handbook, what they might be eligible for, so on and so forth. All of that's included, as well as maintaining that handbook on a regular basis for the organization,
okay,
monthly meetings with the assigned consultant for that particular body of work, and strategy planning once a year for what we're going to accomplish, and inclusion of at least 2 projects. And those projects
cool,
can be market surveys, they can be investigatory work, should that be the case throughout the year, if that's something you typically need. It can
uh-huh,
be training, harassment, discrimination, and retaliation, pretty common one. Whatever it is that in that strategic plan is going to help your company move forward, those will be built into that cost. So
nice.
again, hotline, Advantage, fractional HR are the 3 ways we help organizations on a monthly basis.
That's great. And so it sounds like you can really cover, again, a little bit of a customized bucket of things that can be either done via the HR professional that really wants to do most of the things themselves, but needs the sounding board for the phone and expert, the hotline. And then the Advantage plan, where you get a nice fixed set of things and the hotline service available to you, which is very, very useful set of tools and a new way of engaging with those tools. So then you have that library of documents right there available for you, already downloaded, and you just need to manage and maintain them. And then fractional HR is kind of like a pick and choose your own adventure with a bucket of services built into that, which I think is really cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Laurie, so much for spending all this time with us to share your wisdom when educate the viewers and listeners that are interested in potentially needing that kind of help. We know a lot of small, mid-sized businesses that try and get by with just one HR person. And again, you made the comment, it's almost impossible, if not impossible, for one person in HR to know all the things that they need to know. So partners and service providers like yourselves are incredibly valuable to business owners and leaders to have the right people answering the right questions and making sure they're protecting the business as an asset, right? And moving the company forward. Well, that's going to wrap episode 2 of Convergence Knowledge Bytes on our HR consulting tracks. Thanks, Laurie, for spending time with us again. And if you do need help in your HR space, please take a look at hranswers.com. Reach out to Laurie and the team. I'm sure they'd be happy to set a time aside to have a quick conversation with you and see if they've got something to help you out. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Take care.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, bye.